We are back in the building. Happy Sex Talk. Okay, Keep It Sexy podcast, episode 3. I appreciate y'all for rocking with me. I had to take last week off to get myself back to normal health. My toddler came in from his first week at daycare at patient 0 and got everybody sick. So I'm definitely glad to be back recording this episode. We got a lot of things to say. This is actually the first episode that I'm doing, a full episode that I'm doing by myself. So hopefully y'all rock with it and we can, adjust as needed moving forward. But we are going to talk about trans kids today. We're going to talk about Dwayne Wayne. We're going to talk about Lil Mama's Lil Mama's claim to start a heterosexual rights movement. And also, we're just going to talk social media therapists and black male relationship experts, because Lord knows we have content for days about those fools. So, of course, I got my girl B bringing us in. Let's jam. Hey, this will be great. I'm very excited. So April is a really, really, really busy month for awareness campaigns, and I just wouldn't feel right if I didn't, kind of shout some of those campaigns out. Now, of course, an exhausted list is probably not possible, so these are some of the ones that, I have documented to celebrate and bring to attention this month. We have Sexual Assault Awareness Month, Couples Appreciation Month, National Minority Health Month, STD Awareness Month, C-Section Awareness Month. Shout out to my C-Section mamas. Stress Awareness Month. We have National Youth HIV and AIDS Awareness Day on the 10th. We have Black Maternal Health Week from the 11th through the 17th. National Youth Violence Prevention Week from the 12th to the 16th. We've got Glisten's Day of Silence on the 23rd. We have National Infertility Awareness Week, the 18th through the 24th. And then, we end strong. International Dance Day on the 29th. I mean, come on, we got to participate, right? And somewhere in there is like National Pillow Fight Day. That's some good endorphins, release some stress. Okay, so we just gonna go ahead and keep shit sexy and go right into the topics. I think I've been wanting to talk about Dwayne Wayne for a while. He was recently speaking about his daughter Zaya in an interview with a bunch of other black athletes, which was just a beautiful, like, really sacred, like, safe space. If you haven't seen that interview, definitely look it up and watch it. But he was talking about his daughter Zaya and stated that, when it comes to trans kids, that parents just need to get out of the way, right? And let their child be who they are, love them, be accepting, adjust as you need to. He said to kind of help him, adjust his mindset and get into supportive dad mode. He mentioned asking his child questions, doing additional research until he felt comfortable with his level of knowledge. He said he's constantly learning. He said it's his job to help his children reach the goal of being who they truly are. I'm going to say that again. It's his job to help his children reach the goal of being who they truly are. It is not his job to tell them who they're going to be. That is, like, as a parent, I thought, like, I was in tears for sure, because that's the only thing that I could ever wish, for my kids and for kids in the community, my nieces and nephews. Like, I just want people in their circle supporting them, and helping them reach the goal of who they truly are, right? Regardless of if they fit into society's standards of gender and, all that type of stuff. So we're going to get into a little more detail about this because, I just couldn't be happier to see this great example in our community. And a few days later, Zaya's interview of Michelle Obama about her new show on Netflix, Waffles and Mochi. If you haven't watched that, you should do that. That's dope, actually. So anyway, Zaya was interviewing Michelle Obama about that show. Interview was great, right? Beautiful black women, great to see communication, talking about running shows, Netflix deals, great, right? Now, I don't know if y'all remember Lil Mama. She's not real relevant, but she likes to think that she is. Every now and again, she show her ass, and she end up back in the news. She responded to this interview by going to her IG live and talking for damn near 30 minutes, y'all, about how she doesn't agree with children being trans. I'm gonna put all the air quotes in these things. That they shouldn't have the choice to be trans because, like, do they really know themselves like that? They're too young to know what they're talking about. Still figuring things out. That whole rhetoric, right? She claims also that being transgender is a form of depopulation at any cost. So I'm not sure if any of you have heard of this, sort of like depopulation argument. It's just, this is due to fear in the Black community of the emasculation of Black men, right? Trying to make them more effeminate, gender fluid by praising young Black children for being trans, but not thinking about what implications that has on the culture, like turning Black men into someone who's not as powerful because being a manly man makes you powerful. And so if you're not identifying as a man, then are you powerful? Let me say this. I don't know what experiences y'all have had in your life, but Black women are the strongest women that I have ever encountered. We are goddesses. We are superheroes. We are out here kicking it, doing things. So to say that, like, the concept of, like, being female is not equated with strong is just bullshit. So anyway, so her argument is all kind of wrapped in that depopulation argument. We're going to talk about that a little bit more. So she shared the following tweet to her IG story. This is from Islam Riza, where it says, "So children are too young to smoke cigarettes, too young to drink alcohol, too young to get a driver's license, too young to go to a club, too young to gamble, too young to rent a car, but old enough to cut off their genitals and or change their gender," with this, like, thinking emoji. This is insanity. Hashtag America. So then she said, with this horrendous tweet here, "Depopulation at any cost. Used to be a cat, now I'm a dog. Whatever to stop new life reproduction." Right? So this further goes into the depopulation argument because, of course, if you're trans, then that means you're just cutting off your genitalia, because the only time anybody actually gets pissed about this concept is when it's a Black male talking about being trans, because obviously every Black trans person cuts off their genitalia, right? Jesus, if people would just fucking read. Anyways, no, that is not the case. Not every trans person is interested in removing their genitalia. That is not a given. Cutting off their genitals and changing their gender is not what happens. So the concept here is, if they're cutting off their genitals, then Black men can't reproduce, right? So this kind of all goes back, into back into slavery and into the civil rights movement and Jim Crow era, where, this notion of a Black boy wanting to become a woman is somehow this manifestation of what the white man has always wanted the Black male to be, which, like I said, is less manly and therefore less powerful. Complete and utter bullshit, right? And so, anyways, obviously from posting this tweet to her story, she had huge backlash, right? And in response, she said she was going to start a heterosexual rights movement. I'm going to let y'all let that sink in. Heterosexual rights movement. In what way, by just merely existing, are we coming for your rights? And what way does that impact you, right? Like, it's just utter bullshit. So she says the reason for starting the movement is to protect herself and other heterosexuals from being bullied by the LGBTQ plus community. So this is literally word for word what she put on her Instagram story. Don't worry, I'll put, you'll see these images in the video. "I'm about to start a heterosexual rights movement." She went on to say, "Y'all fight so hard to be respected, and some of you, not all, get a kick out of bullying people for having an opinion, how they dress, how their hair and or makeup looks, how much money they have, etc. There are so many people afraid to give their honest opinion because if they do, the LGBTQ plus will hear what they want to hear and take statements out of context. I don't have to prove myself by reminding people that I have loved ones in the LGBTQ plus community. When I speak, I'm not trying to hurt anyone. I'm just speaking my truth, just like you all." Right. So, the fact that you have a history of transphobic comments back in 2008 while you were on America's Best Dance Crew really don't help your argument, because like you've been in the heat multiple times for this. So I just feel like, everybody's just got to calm the fuck down. Like, this is absolutely ridiculous. A heterosexual rights movement, I mean, let's be clear, it's Lil Mama. It's not going to go very far. In fact, I'm pretty sure no one's talking about it at this point. It just infuriated my entire soul. So I wanted y'all to hear about this shit. I just can't, and I won't. Like, it's just insane, right? And so before I go into, the like sex educator aspect of this, I need to be fully transparent and have full disclosure here. I am a cisgendered heterosexual woman, right? I am not the expert that you should be listening to about LGBTQ identity, community, and movements. Here in Columbus, local experts include like Kaleidoscope Youth Center with Aaron Upchurch and Karen Hewitt. You've got some national organizations to turn to for resources. You've got GLAAD, GLSEN, the Trevor Project, It Gets Better projects, etc. But what I can do today and what I will be doing is describing the difference between sex and gender. Because if there is not one thing that has been pissing me off with all these gender reveal parties, it's like, you don't know your child's gender. It's not a thing. It's a social construct. You don't know your child's gender. Your child tells you their gender. What you are celebrating is their biological sex. You're celebrating their genitalia. That's what you're celebrating. So when you're born, you are an infant human. Very simple, right? There are 3 options for your sex assignment based on your on your genitals: vagina, penis, or both. And that's those 3 options are what the medical professionals automatically gender by saying it's a girl if you have a vagina, or it's a boy if you have a penis. And if you happen to have both a vagina and a penis, which is known as intersex, the doctor's usually going to pressure a family to decide what, genitals their child is going to have, so they can fall into this binary construct of gender. Oftentimes there is no medical reason for this. This is a whole nother topic of discussion by itself. I'm not going to go down the intersex train, but we're going to move on right now. But if you have interest in that, let me know and we can talk about it later. So anyway, by the medical professionals determining you a boy or a girl, they've already set in motion the societal construct of gender upon your body, right? So as you develop, your family and your society are going to treat you based on standards that say girls are this, or girls do this, or boys are that and boys do that. So this sex and gender assignment at birth is truly the first violation of our body autonomy, right? So like usually, again, as society, we see gender as this binary thing. Boys are masculine presenting humans, who do boyish things. Girls are feminine presenting humans who do girlish things. We've attached gender to clothes, colors, how children play, the types of activities they're allowed to do, their temperament, what television they can watch, what songs they can sing. I mean, it's literally exhausting, right? So for a trans child, it can become very evident at an early age when these prescribed genders don't feel right or don't seem to match how they feel, right? So knowing this information, we got to reframe how we talk about transgendered people, and especially trans kids, right? Transgender people are not confused, right? They are simply embracing the reality that their identity is based on how they know, feel, and understand themselves. It's really important to recognize that understanding oneself is not a linear experience. It's a process that might take some time. So, people like the Lil Mamas, and if you know about Lil Boosie's commentary also, those people of the world who are saying a child's too young to make this decision are very misinformed. A trans child like Zaya is developmentally at an age to be able to identify who they are, how they feel about their bodies, and how they want to exist in the world. Let me be very clear. If children are old enough to know that they are cis and or straight, they are also old enough to know that they are trans and or gay. So I think that people need to stop to stop this questioning. Nobody questions when a child goes along with the prescribed gender roles and expectations for them. Nobody's like, oh man, maybe they should be questioning this. The only time y'all get upset is when shit doesn't match up to these societal standards that you feel like everybody's got to fit in. And more specifically in the Black community, like I mentioned, it's really only concern or something to be outraged about when it's a Black boy voicing their trans identity. So like we said, like I said, this is due to that fear of depopulation or emasculation of the Black male. So, to end this kind of soapbox and this rant, let kids be who they are. Stop getting in their way, man. Like, they know who they are. You gotta listen to them, right? Stop telling them who to be. That's not your role. Let them exist as they are meant to exist. You can't tell them what the journey to understanding themselves is going to be like. It's for them to tell you, and for you to get on board, do some research, educate yourself, and be a part of their support system. Period. Like, it doesn't extend from there. That's it. You listen to the kids in your life. They know themselves way better than y'all give them credit for. It's just, you just got to trust babies. I'm going to say this one statement one more time because I feel like it's really important for people to get this. If children are old enough to know that they are cis and or straight, they are also old enough to know that they are trans and or gay. Period. So let's stop questioning. Okay? Let's just stop questioning this. I'm like I said, I'm going to post these images in the video of the podcast that we post on Happy Sex Talk TV on YouTube. So I have screenshots of Lil Mama's posts and stuff, and I'll try to include a link to the Dwayne Wayne interview so y'all can catch up on that, because it's a really beautiful interview, and the way that these Black men are talking about gender and identity, and they're being so open and so vulnerable. It's really, really great. And so to have, even though Lil Mama's response wasn't directly from this interview, but to have people out there who are just like bucking at this concept of like supporting your kids. And it infuriates me.
Fuck boy, my bitch been said it. And now it's time for Fuck Boi news.
Speaking of folks who like to tell others how to exist in the world, I really want to talk about the ever so exhausting trend of cis hetero Black men proclaiming themselves as dating and relationship gurus and targeting the insecurities of Black women in order to build their notoriety and wealth. Some of you may know what I'm already about to start talking about, but if you don't know what I'm talking about, there has recently been some talk among the internets about a certain man by the name of Derrick Jaxn. Jackson specifically spelled with an X because he's fucking classy. Whose career was started by making reaction videos about relationships and dating that ended up going viral. So he basically gives, open opinions about men and women and how men should treat women and how women should act to get the, right kind of man, presumably one like himself, of course. And some folks, found this to be helpful in their lives. And so he leaned into that support and built a career off of it. After some time of building this reputation, it comes out that Derrick may not be as committed to his marriage as he was putting on. He admitted to engaging in relationships outside of his marriage without his wife's consent or knowledge, and had even allegedly gotten one of those women from the outside relationships pregnant. So, all of this is truly, really none of our business. We're not the ones in a marriage with this man. He didn't owe us fidelity at all. But what happens between him and his wife is definitely between them. But we'll put a pin in this situation and come back to it later. This is just kind of the start of what I wanted to talk about. There's another social media self-proclaimed dating and relationship expert, Kevin Samuels, who, in my true opinion, is the epitome of a fuckboy. Like those before him, he has gained viral success with videos commenting on relationships and dating, some of which are titled, "Ladies, the older you get, the less you get." Lazy, trifling, entitled single mother is looking for a husband. BBW women asks, why can't my friends get a man like I did? And of course, my personal favorite, this is what average looks like. I mean, y'all, I really shouldn't have to say much more than that to highlight why he's problematic as hell. All I'm going to say about this man is I don't trust anybody who doesn't want to turn on the lights in his own home, especially when he's creating video content for the internet. Like, what the fuck? Have you seen these videos, y'all? They're super dark. He's like, it's just really dramatic for no reason. He got like a candle over here. It's like casting some shadows. It's mysterious. Turn on a fucking light. You're not that deep. Anyways, I digress. So, in my opinion, the stage for men like Derrick and Kevin to self-proclaim their role as experts in dating and relationships was set by none other than good old Steve Harvey. And while there's no doubt that this behavior existed before him, Steve's success with, Think Like a Man created truly an entire industry niche where Black men in particular became this large, credible source for teaching or counseling or advising. Please read demanding, manipulating, taking advantage of. Black women, telling them how to gain attention from men, how to find the right kind of man, how to keep the man you have by maintaining your relationship a certain way, etc. Because, women can't possibly exist without a man. Our whole purpose in life is wrapped up in our existence within a relationship with one of them. So, God forbid you be a woman who was never even interested in dating a man in the first place. Whew, just throw their whole shit out of whack. So this whole phenomenon, this whole, industry is just another way that patriarchy is showing its entire ass, right? Because let's not get this shit twisted. We would never, especially as Black women, be presented a platform in which we're making millions, also potentially billions from giving dating and relationship advice. No way, no how, right? It's just not how the world works. In fact, girls in our society are groomed to be nurturers, to want to strive for romance, relationships, and marriage. We're socialized, especially within the heterosexual community specifically, at a very, very early age, to believe that our worth is tied to, filling that nurturing role. And more importantly, as we get older, are that our worth is tied to a man specifically. So we're taught that doing everything a certain way will kind of guarantee us a relationship that ends in marriage. And in fact, that the only true goal that we should strive for is, in fact, marriage, right? So very early on, we're given, dolls to play with, to start taking care of. We're, given kitchen sets. We're given, cookbooks and little fucking easy bake ovens and all these sorts of things to become these emotional beings, right? And so the thing I want to talk about specifically, the thread that connects all three of these Black men mentioned today is this: building your reputation, your status, your livelihood, and your wealth off of the insecurities of Black women that have been placed on us by these societal expectations is a predatory act. I'm gonna say this again for the people in the back who may not hear me. Building your reputation, status, livelihood, and wealth off of the insecurities of Black women that have been placed on us through these societal expectations is a predatory act. I'm going to break this down a little bit and explain what I mean when I say this statement. Each of these men grew up in the same society that groomed girls to put their value in worth in relationships and men. And it's the same society that molded them as boys to believe that showing emotions, especially sadness, love, or even happiness, made them weak. In fact, it told them that their purpose in life was to make as much money as possible so they could become as successful as possible to get all the things that they need to get to attract the right kind of girl, so that they can then show off that girl as a trophy, what all their hard work had gotten them, right? So these men were more than aware that women have extreme insecurities about themselves when it comes to men and relationships. And instead of choosing not to exploit those insecurities for their financial gain, they just leaned right into that shit, right? So they've placed themselves in a position of power to now be considered the go-to people for Black women when it comes to trying to understand questions like, what is wrong with me? Why can't I find love and happiness? Why aren't the type of men I'm attracted to ever attracted to me, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So by creating a world where Steve Harvey, Derrick Jaxn, and Kevin Samuels are given access to our most vulnerable thoughts, questions, and insecurities about ourselves, our bodies, our relationships, it's probably the biggest power trip that any of them have ever been on. I mean, think about this. Literally billions of women have taken the advice from Steve Harvey on how apparently all men think about dating and relationships. We actually trust that he's given us the inside scoop on what, again, apparently all men are thinking about us as women, therefore allowing us to beat them at their own game and end up in what you are convinced is now a healthy relationship. So when I say that their actions are predatory, let me be very clear. I don't mean in the sense of rape or even sexual assault, but it's for damn sure some type of mental manipulation. In my opinion, it's also verbal assault, especially with Kevin Samuels' lackluster ass. I mean, he's the worst, y'all. And most importantly, it's definitely this type of act and behavior is definitely psychological abuse, right? So I want everybody to just kind of, for a second, think about the amount of money, time, commitment, confidence, self-worth, and intellectual space, the words these men have taken from Black women in this country. Shit, the entire world, right? Because let's be clear, some of their stuff has gone all over the place. And when you think about it from that perspective, it's without a doubt predatory behavior. They have taken so much from Black women, financially, mentally, emotionally, everything, right? And I just want people to think about the power that they've been given from a self-proclaimed expert status, right? None of these men are actually therapists. They're not counselors. I mean, they're not consultants. They're literally just Black men who felt like their opinions about dating and relationship are valid. The audacity to like actually post content with these titles. And we are just clicking and listening and paying attention and finding like kernels of things that we want to take away from that. But it's all built on the insecurities that we already have, and all it's doing is feeding those insecurities, right? So, Derrick Jaxn, his thing is to watch a video with this apparently like immaculate deadpan face, and then he gives you commentary on the relationship. Now, what I will say is, regardless of his, ability or desire to stay monogamous in his marriage with his wife, that doesn't negate the fact that some of the things that he may have said or the advice that he has given, that doesn't mean that that shit is not invalid, right? But it's definitely questionable when your intention behind saying those things were as if you were presenting yourself as the type of man that your advice would then attract for women, because you are this like, specimen who should be of interest from everyone. And then we find out that you are not at all the type of man that you were portraying yourself to be this whole time. It's like, it's just kind of disappointing, right? But again, he didn't owe us any type of fidelity whatsoever. I'm not married to him. I really don't care. That shit don't impact my life. What I'm worried about is the fact that you're preying on the insecurities of women like me, who grew up in a society that has told them that their value is only wrapped up in their connection or relationship to a man. Right. So let me kind of wrap this up. The last thing I want to say about this is, if we were talking to our girls about a relationship that always made us feel insecure, like we're not enough or just aren't capable of keeping our partner interested or attracted to us, we'd be telling her to leave that shit immediately. Right. No hesitation. We'd be going on and on about how she doesn't need a man to tell her she's beautiful, amazing, and worthy of love. Right. So let's just practice some of that right now. Let's practice that type of support right now and encourage the women in our lives who listen to, the Steves, the Derricks, the Kevins of the world to get out of this shitty relationship. Let's stop giving the men, these men specifically, power over our self-worth, our happiness, and our ability to be loved, right? For just being us. There is no scenario where a relationship that you're in should make you want to be anybody other than your authentic self. If the relationship you're in cannot appreciate who you are just as you are, then we need to have a conversation, right? So I just think that these are some things that have kind of been on my mind the last week or so, and I need to kind of get them off of my chest. I mean, we could probably go deeper about this Kevin Samuels and Derrick Jaxn, and I could do an entire podcast just about the ineffectiveness of Steve Harvey, truthfully, but that's not what today is about. So if y'all want to talk about this a little bit more, we can. I just wanted to make sure that you've heard the perspective, because a lot of people are not talking about the fact that what they're doing is a predatory act. And so I think that, my intent here is just to get everybody to kind of think about it from that perspective, and to really kind of think about the content that you are allowing to impact your everyday life, or how you're operating within certain elements of your life. Just stop listening to social media therapists. Go to therapyforblackgirls.com. Find yourself an actual therapist who will really benefit your life and kind of breathe life into you and validate you. And not only that, but respect your vulnerability. Being able to open up and talk to people about relationships and what you're going through and the challenges that you're having is one of the most vulnerable states that you could possibly be in. And we're giving that vulnerability to people like them who don't respect it, right? Their response to that vulnerability is to just continuously shoot us down and still give us negative responses and kind of still leave us feeling like shit about ourselves. And that's not how you should experience an interaction with someone where you're being your most vulnerable self. You deserve to be communicating with somebody who's going to appreciate and validate that vulnerability. So let's get you to that level, okay? I want to thank y'all for checking out the podcast this week. We got some good content coming up this week that we're going to record for the rest of the month. I'm really excited. We got some dope guest speakers coming in. Just keep it sexy, y'all. Like, I think that's the biggest thing. Just make sure you keeping it sexy, you keeping it true, you keeping it authentic in these streets. Let's go ahead and end with Queen B, because she got us feeling ourselves. Hey.
You wake up, post up, round around in it, flossing on it.
You know who got to come join the party? Hey, hey, here she is, Juicy. Hey, 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 hey. Go Juicy, go Juicy. Hey, hey. Y'all, I got some new stuff coming from this same person that printed off my 3D models for Juicy. Ooh, it's gonna be so good. I hope it gets here soon. And of course, Vivian, she's coming through. We about to give her a nice little upgrade too. We got some changes coming. I hope y'all ready. Yeah, yeah. Go Vivi, go Vivi. Hey. I want to thank y'all for coming. We'll see you next week. Keep it sexy. Thank you.